Do you see the U.S. economy playing itself out over the next 12 months? This is an election year. We've been talking a lot about what just took place in Iowa and trying to understand how the American public is going to feel about the economy may ultimately dictate how the president is decided.
Yes, I agree with that. I think it's a mistake to assume that everything's hunky-dory. And, and when stock markets are up, it's kind of like this little drug we all feel. Like, it's just great, But remember, we've had so much fiscal and monetary stimulation. So I'm a little more on the cautious side, that we are facing a lot of things in 24 or 25. And we mentioned Ukraine, the terrorist activity in Israel, the Red Sea, quantitative tightening, which I still question if we understand exactly how that works. I don't think we do. How QE actually worked, what the effect of negative, zero rates was for all this time. And obviously the politics, and and then the Ukrainian war is affecting oil, gas, food, migration. So you have all these very powerful forces that are going to be affecting us in 24 and 25. So if I was the government, I would be preparing for what I'm going to do about that, assuming things aren't good. And I just also want to point out, I wish the Democrats would think a little more carefully when they talk about MAGA, and if you travel this country. And the country's unbelievable. We took our bus trip this year, and Leslie Picker was on Spokane and Boise and Bozeman. People are growing. They're hungry to grow. They're innovating. It's everywhere. It's not just Silicon Valley. So we've got this great hand. But when people say MAGA, they're actually looking at people voting for Trump, and they think they're voting, and they're basically scapegoating them, that you are like him. But I don't think they're voting for Trump because of his family values. Now, if you look, just take a step back, be honest. He was kind of right about NATO. Kind of right about immigration. Mm-hmm. He grew the economy quite well.
China virus.
Tax reform worked. Mm-hmm. He was right about some of China. I don't like what he did.
No, I said China virus.
Yeah, I understand. He may have been right. And I don't like how he said things about Mexico. I don't like, but he wasn't wrong about some of these critical issues, and that's why they're voting for him. And I think people should be a little more respectful of our fellow citizens. And when you guys have people up here, you should always ask the why. Not like it's a binary thing. You're supporting Trump, you're not supporting Trump. Why are you supporting
It's hard to hate
Trump?
75 million of your fellow Americans.
I agree.
It's done quite a bit.
And, the Democrats have done a pretty good job with the deplorables, hugging onto their Bibles and their beer and their guns. I mean, really, can we just stop that stuff and actually grow up and treat other people with respect and listen to them a little bit? And I do think the economy will affect, and I think this negative talk about MAGA is going to hurt Biden's election.
Wow. Does Jamie Dimon hit it right on the freaking head, folks? I mean, what else do you want? He's on CNBC Squawk Box. And he's telling these guys, hey, look, Trump was right on a lot of things that he mentioned, you heard there. And nobody's given him any credit. It's all like Trump's derangement syndrome. And then MAGA, as a movement, people are treating it like it's, leprosy, like it's the plague. And the Democrats are doing an unbelievable job of trying to vilify half of the United States of America, the voting bloc, 75 million votes. I think it was a whole lot more. But demonizing them, calling them deplorables, calling them anti-American, calling them insurrectionists. All of this stuff is out there. And he's just basically saying, guys, we got to step back a little bit. And this is a guy who's anti-Trump, too. And the reason he's anti-Trump is because I think he's just part of the elite upper crust. Multi-billionaire, obviously, CEO of J.P. Morgan. I mean, come on, okay? But he knows what side his bread is buttered on. But because his bread is buttered on that side, he can afford to polish his halo. He can afford to sit in that gilded chair, that gilded golden chair as a CEO and tell everybody about how good he's going to make it for everybody. And this is what he was doing when he was attacking Trump before. Now, all of a sudden, it seems that he's done a little bit of a genuflection for him. Anyways, folks, this is what we have on tap for you today. We got some more video clips of people that are sort of jumping onto the Trump bullet train, so to speak, as it is. It's just making its way down the track, and it is going faster and faster and faster and faster and faster. It is not slowing down in the least, because that's what happens, folks. You're watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I'm your host, Dr. Nasir, where I give you my political prescription from my political perspective of what happens when you have people like Jamie Dimons or like changing their mind a little bit. When you've got Donald Trump, you've got social media, you've got MSLSD, you've got the alphabet networks, you've got Democrats, liberals, leftists, progressives. They all come crashing together. Let's get to some more of those clips right now.
Makes.
They definitely were, and it's easy to forget this, but call this up. This is a line graph of the support for the candidates going back to the start of 2023. And you remember at the start of 23, Republicans had that bad midterm. The Trump-aligned candidates cost them key races. You had Ron DeSantis in some cases within 10 points of Trump nationally. That's why all these candidates emerged. They thought Republicans were moving on. Here's where it diverged. Trump's line went up. DeSantis's went down. Do you know what happened that week? That week, first week of March 2023, Trump was indicted for the first time in New York on the Stormy Daniels matter. It clearly brought a rally around Trump effect to Republicans.
4 indictments and the trajectory goes up, and maybe that's why we see him in courtrooms as much as the campaign.
We've learned about the Republican primary electorate is not yet in these entrance polls questions tonight. The CBS poll, their final poll before the Iowa caucus, this is a national poll, shows that 81% of Republican primary voters and caucus participants, 81% of those people agree with Donald Trump that immigrants are poisoning the blood of this country. That means that 81% of the Republican primary electorate believe Nikki Haley has poisoned blood and is poisoning the blood of the United States. So that as a roadblock for Nikki Haley is impossible, but it also shows you what you're up against in any kind of campaign against voters like that. The convertibility of voters like that to anything other than the Trump view of the world is impossible. There's no campaign ad. There's no speech you can make. There's no, Republican who Chris Christie might be able to convince some of them. Not them. Not any of the 81%.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I am so effing mad. If you guys saw me before, it wasn't because you didn't hear me. It's because I muted myself because I didn't want to be saying those words. I very, 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 very rarely utter a profanity. And if I do, I always mute myself. But this guy, Lawrence O'Donnell, he is one of the most evil, vile, disgusting, despicable human beings on the face of this earth. He is actually intimating, he has absolutely no source because 81% of caucus goers and voters for Trump were basically saying that they're aligned with him. He's extrapolating that to the fact that immigrants are poisoning the blood of this nation. I'll tell you what illegal immigration is doing. It is poisoning our cities. It is poisoning the workforce. It is poisoning the amount of money that's available. It is poisoning the livelihood of Americans. It is poisoning school going. They're shutting down schools and they're putting illegal immigrants, illegal aliens into high schools to keep them there. And then they're forcing our children to learn remotely. And we all knew what happened during COVID, how devastating that was to our children, but they didn't learn anything from that. But this monster, this evil SOB, this POS, this guy has a nerve to basically say that they're not going to vote for Nikki Haley because she has, her blood is tainted. The last time I looked, Nikki Haley looked pretty white to me. And what is your excuse for Ron DeSanctimonious then? You evil piece of crap. These guys, I call MSNBC, MSLSD, the delusional network. These guys peddle their filth. They peddle their lies. They peddle their despicable, disgusting, vile narrative. And there are people out there that soak it in. These are evil, vile, disgusting, despicable human beings. That station, I don't know how they put their heads on their beds at night, on their pillows, and go to sleep. But these people are, you know what? There will be a fire roasting for them sometime in the afterlife. That's all I can say, folks. I mean, this is absolutely unbelievable what these guys get away with, peddling their lies and their filth every single evening, all because they've got Trump derangement syndrome going on. Unbelievable, folks. Unbelievable.
So I want, though, to look at this another way. Let me just ask you, if Barack Obama took 4 years off and then ran in a Democratic caucus in Iowa, would 50% of Democrats vote against Barack Obama? No, they wouldn't. Let me answer your question for you. No, they wouldn't. The fact that Donald Trump has, we have a delay. The fact that Donald Trump has 50% of Republicans not voting for him, and as Steve Kornacki said, 1/3 hating him in the state of Iowa. In the state of Iowa. You know, we can all sit here and you know, put on sackcloth and ashes and moan about Donald Trump getting 51% of the vote. Got to say, for people who actually want to win general elections, that's not good news.
Right. And there wasn't really a delay, Joe. I was trying to make a calculation in my head. You know, in a way, Trump didn't really even take any time off. I mean, here's the analogy that's the right analogy. You know, Trump transformed, you know, Iowa was a state that, to bring up Barack Obama, Barack Obama wins this state in the general election in 2008. He wins the state in the general election in 2012. Trump comes in here, comes in third in the Iowa caucus in 2016, but wins the state, turns it red in 2016, turns it red easily in 2020. So he's actually run here as a presidential candidate in the last two presidential cycles. He hasn't taken any time off, right? He's effectively the incumbent running in the Republican Party. So if you thought about that, imagine Barack Obama wins Iowa in 2008 and wins it in 2012, and now Barack Obama's running in the Iowa caucuses in 2016. What would Barack Obama's margin have been in Iowa in the 2016 Democratic caucuses? Would have been, I would reckon, 95%. I mean,
yes.
85%. I mean, he would.
Even the guys that eat morning crow, all right, that eat morning crow, which is just your average Joe, they didn't even bring Biden into the factorization of this thing here. They're bringing Obama back to basically do the calculation of whether or not Obama would have been able to go over 50% in the Democratic caucus in Iowa, as Trump has turned literally Iowa from blue to red over the last 8 years. And as they say, effectively running as the incumbent. I mean, talk about giving Biden a slap in the face. Effectively, he's running as the incumbent. And then Morning Crow, all he can do is basically say, oh, Steve Kornacki, that stupid, idiotic, moronic retard. That guy who ran such a great campaign, I guess it was with John McCain, loser. And so Steve Schmidt is out there saying that he had 49% of the people or 48% of the people were against Trump and 33% hate him. So that 51 or 52% that Trump won by, that means absolutely nothing. The amount of political gymnastic you've got to do to twist your body around to come up with that kind of a spin. Wow. I would love to know who your chiropractor is, because how do you unbend and unwind from such a categorically stupid, idiotic, moronic, retarded statement as Steve Schmidt, as they alluded to, Morning Crow, was talking about. Incredible, folks. Absolutely incredible. These folks are absolutely Looney Tunes, delusional with Trump derangement syndrome. Anyways, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your host. My name is Dr. Nasir, and if you haven't done so, we'd love to have you subscribe to the channel. If you found our content appealing and you liked it, you all know what to do. Like, share, and follow us. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Take a look at our other video links here and below. My final thought is always, when you're right, you're right. And Trump and us, we're so right. And when you're left, well, you're like these people on Morning Crow. And you're like everybody else on the left. You're just wrong. Until next time, folks, take care and stay safe.